Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are breaking down a truly legendary chapter in international soccer history. We're talking about the 2026 World Cup Quarterfinal, where Spain edged out a wildly resilient Belgium team 2-1. Look, whether you're a hardcore tactician, an amateur coach, or honestly just a casual fan, this game, it's an absolute masterclass in how patience can ultimately break down a brick wall. It wasn't just a game. It was a heavyweight clash between two entirely different visions of how soccer should be played. We had drama, heartbreak, and a seriously thrilling finish. Okay, let's dive into this.
Here is our tactical playbook for today. We're going to kick things off with a clash of soccer philosophies, look at the first half traded blows, dive into the second half war of attrition, break everything down by the numbers, and finally, look at the road ahead.
Section 1, Clash of Soccer Philosophies. The fundamental thesis of this match really boils down to two opposite tactical ideologies colliding on the biggest stage imaginable. On one side of the pitch, you've got Spain. They are driven by this relentless obsession with territorial possession and a super fluid positional passing structure. Their whole goal? Completely dominate the ball and play an exhausting game of keep away. But on the exact opposite end of the spectrum, you have Belgium. They brought a highly organized defensive discipline to the pitch, setting up in a really compact mid to low block. You know, Belgium wasn't even interested in holding the ball. They were perfectly fine absorbing all that pressure, just waiting to rely on their sharp, clinical counterattacking threat to do the damage.
So, how exactly did Spain attempt to break that organized Belgian wall down? Well, their tactical blueprint relied on 3 steps. Choke the midfield lanes, push their inverted wingers out wide to really stretch the defense, and circulate the ball with crisp horizontal and vertical passes. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how Spain forced Belgium so deep into their own penalty box. By pushing a high defensive line and executing those steps, Spain established total control right from the opening whistle, making the pitch feel incredibly wide and, honestly, just a nightmare to defend.
Section 2, First Half Traded Blows. It really didn't take long for these two opposing philosophies to forcefully collide in those first 45 minutes. Plotting out the timeline of the drama, after a period of really sustained Spanish pressure, the defensive wall finally cracked right at the 30-minute mark. Fabián Ruiz finishes off this intricate multi-pass sequence by just totally evading his marker with a subtle body drop and buries a clinical shot. Spain goes up 1-0. But just when Spain looked completely comfortable heading into the half, Belgium strikes back with lightning speed in the 41st minute. A beautiful shot from Charles De Ketelaere. From there, the match just hung in this incredibly tense balance until the absolute death, when Mikel Merino broke Belgian hearts with an 88th-minute winner. Before we get to the end of the match, though, let's pause and look a bit closer at that Belgian equalizer, because it exposes a really fascinating tactical detail. Notice how Belgium capitalized on the minor transitional windows right behind Spain's high-pressing fullbacks. See, going a goal down forced Belgium to press just a little bit higher. And when they won the ball back, their technical players didn't hesitate for a second. They launched rapid, direct counterattacks right into those spaces left completely vacant by the advancing Spanish defenders. It was a literal masterclass in counterattacking efficiency. It allowed Belgium to score from one of their very, very few attacking sequences with just clinical precision. Section 3, the War of Attrition. Coming out of halftime, the whole pacing of the game shifted drastically. It became this high-stakes tactical chess match. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the extreme possession disparity. Spain held the ball for a staggering 68% of the match, leaving Belgium with just 32%. Spain basically fired up their aggressive engine again in the second half and practically camped out deep inside Belgian territory. They were constantly switching the play from left to right, creating these numerical overloads on the wings. For Belgium, that meant they had to constantly shift their defensive block to compensate. They were basically chasing shadows and just rapidly burning through their physical reserves. And that heavy physical toll brings us to a really critical number, 18. That is the total number of fouls committed by Belgium during the match. It's simple cause and effect, right? If you've ever played a pickup game against a team that refuses to share the ball, you know exactly why this happens. When you're starved of possession for almost 70% of the game, you have to run almost twice as much just to close down passing angles. As the physical exhaustion mounted against Spain's endless pressure, the defensive tackles inevitably started getting sloppier. The fouls started piling up as Belgium desperately tried to break Spain's rhythm. As the clock ticked past the 80th minute, that overwhelming fatigue became the deciding factor. Take a look at this quote from the post-match analysis. The relentless shifting required to cover space against Spain's 68% possession meant that Belgium's defensive reactions became microseconds slower. That right there, that is the key. microseconds. In a World Cup quarterfinal, that tiny delay is literally all a world-class team needs. Spain smelled blood in the water. They upped their tempo, brought on fresh attacking reinforcements, and hunted for those microscopic openings in a very tired Belgian wall. Which leads us directly to the decisive moment, the 88th minute. Extra time is looming. Spain wins a crucial sequence of possession just outside the box. They move the ball with this blistering, rapid one-touch speed that completely disorganizes the exhausted defensive line. The ball finds midfielder Mikel Merino making a brilliant late run. He reads the trajectory perfectly and just unleashes a devastating, precise strike into the back of the net. 2-1 Spain. The sheer speed of the passing sequence, combined with Belgium's microscopic delay in reaction time, is what finally shattered the dam.
Section 4, by the numbers. We've talked a lot about the narrative and the emotion on the pitch, but let's jump into a post-match statistical autopsy to prove mathematically why that Belgian defense eventually collapsed.
The massive gap in pass volume really tells the whole story. Total passes completed, Spain at an unbelievable 633 versus Belgium at just 295. And Spain completed these passes with a remarkable 91% accuracy. To put that into perspective, this massive passing volume wasn't just horizontal stagnation, passing for the sake of passing. No, it acted as both a potent offensive weapon and a suffocating defensive shield. By dominating the ball to this extreme, Spain naturally minimized Belgium's attacking threats, restricting them to just a handful of chances while systematically wearing them down.
Diving deeper into the stats, we see a comprehensive picture of Spain's dominance across the board. 18 total shots to 5, 8 shots on target to 2, 5 corner kicks to Belgium's 1. So the crucial point is this. Spain didn't just win by getting lucky in the 88th minute. They maintained total structural control from the opening whistle. The sheer volume of their play eventually and inevitably ground an elite Belgian resistance into dust.
However, the numbers also highlight a really striking contrast in attacking philosophies. Clinical efficiency versus attacking volume. Spain relied heavily on attacking volume. I mean, they required 18 total shots and 8 shots on target just to register their 2 goals. Belgium, on the other hand, showcased hyper-efficiency. They maximized output from minimal chances, scoring their 1 goal from their only 2 shots on target in the entire match. It's a fascinating divergence in how these two teams actually try to win soccer matches.
Section 5, the road ahead. So, what does this monumental 2-1 victory mean for Spain's World Cup journey? And what vital lessons must their technical staff learn before the next round?
Let's wrap up with these final takeaways. First and foremost, obviously, Spain advances to the semifinals, keeping that dream of global dominance alive. Second, they prove that their possession framework has the patience and the clutch quality required to survive deep knockout soccer. But hey, it's not all perfect. They clearly must address their defensive vulnerabilities in rapid transitional phases. We saw that firsthand with the De Ketelaere goal. And finally, they absolutely need to be more clinical in converting high expected goal chances against world-class low blocks, rather than just relying on sheer volume alone to save them. Which leaves us with this final, lingering thought. Can Spain's possessions survive their finishing issues? As they gear up for a heavyweight semifinal clash, will their ability to control the ball be enough, or will their lack of clinical finishing and those transitional vulnerabilities prove to be their undoing against even deadlier opposition? It's a huge question and one we absolutely cannot wait to see answered on the pitch. Thanks so much for joining me for this tactical explainer, and I'll see you next time.